Fine. So in the yesterday's class, we have a seen about how to create a test script which will be handling of a drop downs. And I guess let me have a look into the test script whatever we have created. See, using the drop down script whatever we have prepared yesterday, we asked our WebDriver to select a value from a drop down using a selector class. That's the only operation which we have performed, right? That's the only operation which we have performed using a selector class. So I would like to update this program in such a way that the scenario what I would like to perform over here is get all the drop down values and print them to the console. I need to write down a program which will be getting all the values from the drop downs and which will be printing those values to the console. How come this is gonna happen? So for which, you know that let's first of all let's try to identify this particular objects. Okay, so I'm just going to my Firefox browser, where in which I'm just navigating to the page where exactly we have a drop down, and from there identify the drop down, the language drop down, and inspect element with a firebug. And see here, this drop down, it's gonna have a multiple values. Whenever you click on a expand button, you can find all the values from the drop down. So just click on a expand. See here, if you observe all the drop down values, these are all the drop down values and starting with the tag name as an option. See, we noticed that all the drop down values in a web page are starting with the tag name as an option. Okay, there are too many values are there which are starting with the tag name as an option. Okay, that's fine. So the point what exactly we need to do over here is, we noticed a point that all the drop down values are starting with a tag name as option. So I can ask my WebDriver to get all the values which are having a tag name as an option. So in order to perform this activity, for sure we need to go for find elements command itself. So let me write down a command, driver dot find elements. See, whenever we are going for a driver dot means it will try to identify from the whole web page. Okay, driver is a complete browser instance. We are asking it to identify all the objects in the entire web page by dot tag name as option. So get all the objects from the drop down, or all the objects in a web page with the tag name as an option. Below command will get all the objects in the entire web page with the tag name as option. Okay, now let's try to print that account over here, for which I'm just trying to store over here as ddval is equal to, and as we are using a find elements command, here I just used a return type as a string, but for sure the return type should be a list of web elements, so I just change it to a list of web elements here. And right now system.out.println total values in the drop down are plus dd value dot size is a command which will be returning the size of that particular values. Let me run my program, and while executing I would like to give you a small scenario over here. Someone has given me a task to identify persons in a classroom with a name as a Surendra. Okay, the task is given to me in such a way so that one has a given account as 50. So in a classroom there are 50 persons are there with the name as a Surendra. By looking into this one itself, we can simply confirm it's a wrong answer. The reason is, at max in a class there would be around only 20 people are there. Okay, in a class if there are 20 people are there, how come 50 persons will get how come 50 persons will be there with the same name? So the logic happened over here is we asked him to get the students with the name Surendra from a classroom, but he gathered the information from the entire college, which results in a wrong output, right? Which results in a wrong output. So to avoid such kind of a things, we need to be more sure that we need to specify from where we need to get that particular information. As of now, it returned the count as a 55. So the same point I am converting over here, if you clearly observe, we are asking it to get all the objects in the entire web page. But I don't want to get all the objects from my entire web page. I would like to get from drop down alone. So drop down a web elements or else a drop down object information dot find elements with the option, which will be returning the actual value. See, in the yesterday's class we have created a web element for a drop down and its value is a dd. So here dd dot find elements by dot tag name as an option. See, the basic differences between these two is earlier we used a driver dot which will be retrieving the information from the entire web page, whereas here we are using a dd dot which is from the drop down. In the drop down location, what are all the objects which are starting with the tag name, retrieve them and store the results in a drop down values variable, and system.out.println total number of values in drop down are plus dd values. Okay, plus dd values. I have entered this information. Now when I run this same program, it's gonna print all the values from the drop down to the it's gonna print the total counts. And here the scenario for your practice is, if you remember the yesterday's concept, we have seen about all the links, wherein which even it's been storing the information in a list itself, and we using a for loop we just printed all the list values to the console. The same way here also you need to use a simple for loop. But here I would like to return the count, guys. In order to return the count, I need to specify size over here. Then only it will be returning the count. Let me rerun the program once again to get the count, run as a Java application. So here the scenario for your practice is just print all the values to console using a simple for loop. And even you no need to write the for loop also. Okay, you no need to write the for loop also. Whatever the loop we have created for links account, simply use that. That's it. You no need to write a more logic over here. You can simply duplicate the code over here also. That would be fine. Okay, that's fine, guys. So if you observe now, the total count got returned as a 50. So there exists some deviation in the results. So this is the way how can we print the total values in a drop down. Okay, this is the way how can we print the total values from a drop down. That's fine, guys. Done up to here. Once we are done up to here, the other point what exactly I would like to do is, apart from this we don't have a much operations on a drop down. Okay, apart from that we don't have a much operations on a drop down. So let's switch on to another scenario. Okay, let's switch on to another scenario. The another scenario which I would like to show you over here is on a jQuery application. Okay, so which is a jQuery application. So just a second, guys, let me look out into the scenarios one. So before going to the jQuery drop down, that we can see parallel execution. web tables. Okay, so let's discuss a concept which is about a web tables. Before going to the frames and all those stuff, let's discuss about a web tables. Before going into the web table concept, here I got a small question, guys. Let me address those questions. See here, the question is, what if there are more than one drop down fields and we need only one drop down values? The simple thing is, we are creating an object to the sorry we are creating a web element to the object for which we need to retrieve the information. So even though there are multiple drop downs are there in a web page, the object property would be changed, hence automatically we can retrieve the values, right? The object properties would be changed by default. So see here, within the same page itself, we do have this drop down, and here we have another drop down too. See, this is a one drop down and this is another drop down too. But if you clearly observe, the first drop down information, it is having an ID as a RPP, whereas this drop down is having an ID as a set blank. So it means the drop down properties itself is completely changing. As the drop down properties itself is completely changing, we no need to think about that. Okay. Am I clear for everybody, or do you have any questions for me further regarding this drop down related stuff? Fine. Done, guys. This is the way how can we handle these drop downs. The scenario which I would like to explain over here is about a web tables. Generally, whenever we are working on any kind of an applications, okay, usually our data would represent in terms of a web table. Okay, majority of the applications contains a data which is represented in terms of a table itself. Okay, see here, as of now in this particular application also, I just navigated to a W3 school where in which the data is represented in terms of a table itself. Okay, the data got represented in terms of a table itself. So here the scenario what I would like to perform over here is, the first scenario is get first four tag names. The second scenario is get all the tag names from the entire table. Okay, the first scenario is get only the first four tag names. The second scenario is get all the tag names from the entire table, and the third scenario is get tag name and description. Okay, here get means print. So what exactly I'm thinking is a print itself. My intention of a get over here is print. Okay, print the first four tag names to the console. Print all the tag names from the entire table. Print tag name and the description for all the rows in the entire table. Okay, for all rows in entire table. Okay, for all rows in the entire table. So these are the three different scenarios I would like to perform. So let's switch to the first scenario. Okay, where in which in this scenario I would like to show you here that we need to get four tag names. Okay, we need to get the four tag names, assuming that I would like to get for 2, 3, 4 and a 5 tag names. Okay, starting from doc type till acronym, I would like to get these tag names. So what I am doing now means, first of all, I am creating a new script class web table. Okay, web table, four rows only. Okay, I'm just specifying my script name more clear, that four rows. It will get only four rows information. From where? Just to create an object to a WebDriver. WebDriver space driver is equal to new Firefox driver. Okay, and later driver dot get open the Bing this application which is a W3 schools application. Copy that and specify the application here. And after opening the app, I need to get the four rows information. How can I get that? See, first of all, in order to understand this concept more clearly, what I am doing means, I am performing a right click operation on my second tag name, assert element present. Right click on a third tag name, assert element present. Fourth tag name, assert element present. Go back to Selenium IDE, change all the properties to expert the position. So first one I change it to expert position. Second one I have a change it to expert position. Even third one I have a change it to expert position. So if you clearly observe these object properties, the expert positions, there exists a small difference between them. The only difference over here is the table row. TR means it's a table row. Table row is just changing. Apart from that, the remaining value is one and the same. So copy this expert from the Selenium IDE and paste it out in our running notes or else in our document. From where this is the experts, right? So what I am doing means the only thing changing over here is this numeric value, and that too it is changing from 3, 4, 5, and our requirement is up to 6 as we need to get the 4 rows information. So here before that number I am storing it in a before variable. Okay, before that number I am storing it in a before variable, and in a I variable I am storing 3, 4, 5 and a 6, and later in a after variable I am storing this one. See here, this I variable is like this, means using a for loop the I value will be varied from 3 to 6. Okay, I value is varied from 3 to 6. Okay, so here if you clearly observe, when I is equal to 3, it's gonna get second object information expand. Okay, it's gonna generate, it means before plus I plus after. How come it's gonna work? See, this is a before content. Okay, copy the before contents. I value is a 3 and after content. When I place it over here, if you clearly observe, this one got a change to second object information. When the I value got a change to 4, then before plus after plus looks like this, which is this value, where in which it got changed to 4. When I value is a 5, okay, whenever the I value is a 5, this is changing to 5. It means based on the I value, this expert is a keep on changing for the rows to rows. So what I can do means, after generating the expert, simply get the text from the location. See, the expert whatever we are generating is for this object itself. See here, I am generating the expert for this object. For this object itself, I am asking it to get the text. That's what our requirement is. Get the text for these tag names. That's what we are performing. So the logic, whatever I have explained now, I need to implement the same logic on my, okay, I need to implement the same logic on my WebDriver scripts. Okay, I need to implement the same logic on my WebDriver script. So how it's gonna work? So first of all, string before is equal to store the before part. String after is equal to store the after part. Get the before part. I just copied the before part and I updated here, and I just copied the after parts and I pasted it in my script. So I need to create a for loop where in which my I value is changing from 3 to 6. This is the stuff where here I need to add before plus I plus after. This is the logic. Till now, am I clear for everybody, or do you people have any specific questions for me till now? Lata, Srilata, Amar, Priyanka, Deepti, Jyoti, Sushmita. Am I clear for everybody? One and all. Am I clear for you all? If you have any questions with that logic, just let me know here so that I will re-explain that one. Else I will move on to the script and I will write down the script. Fine. Diti and Priyanka, is this clear for you both? Fine. Cool. Done. Once we are done up to here, see here, if you clearly observe, the before a data type is a string, and I would like to add it with a integer data type of a I. So in order to add this one, I am going for a string builder in Java. Using this string builder, what I am doing means I am just adding a before to that, and where in which I am adding I and append after. So it means using the string builder, I am adding a multiple data types over here. The whole thing I am converting into a string. At last I am giving it as a string. So it means add a before, add I and add after. Whatever the value it got generated, convert the whole value into a string. I am storing it in a XPath variable. So the XPath got generated right now. Now what I am trying to do, driver dot find element by dot XPath dot get the text from that location. So the only logic what we have implemented here is just a string builder. Using a string builder, we are appending the before value, which is a string data type, and a I value, which is a integer data type. We are just adding these integer and a string, and the whole result I am converting into a string and I am storing it in a string. Using the string builder, we are generating a new string as per our requirements. Okay, using a string builder, we are just building a string as per our requirement, and we asked our WebDriver to identify the object by its XPath, for which I am passing the generated XPath, where in which I am asking to get the text. You know that get the text is a command which will get the text from the specified location. Initially, it will get the text from the 3, later 4, later 5, later 6. So for these just 4 objects itself, it will get the text. Okay. For these 4 objects itself, it will get the text. So let me run my program and check out how this is gonna work. Run as a Java application. So it's been executing the script. So it needs to return. Okay. It needs to return the text present at that location. Okay, so it's been executing that. So probably within a couple of seconds it's gonna return an output for us too. Okay, let's wait and check out the output, what exactly it's gonna return to the console. So okay, opening the app, but here it doesn't return the value to the console, guys. Do you know the reason why? The reason is simply here I asked it to get the text, but I haven't returned any command to print the text, right? So we are just asking it to get the text, but we haven't entered any command to print that particular text. I can store this result in a X. I can store this result in a X system.out.println X. Now run the script. Run as a Java application. Okay, I'm just executing this script as a Java application. Fine, it's been executing that. If you go back to your script, it was supposed to return the values. Check out, all the values got returned to the console. Okay, whatever the values we have specified, all the values got returned to the console. Okay, that's fine. Am I clear for you all with this particular logic? That's fine. That's fine, guys. So done up to here. Done up to here. Guys, if you have any questions, just address me in a chat window. So directly with a string builder. Just a second, I got a question over here. Let me look into that. Okay, so we cannot give parameters into the expand directly with the string builder. See here, I'm just generating a string over here and I'm giving that for our better understanding. Okay, even you can specify directly also. Okay, so the whole this one I can simply specify the whole result. It is generating a string, right? I can specify that one too. Okay, that's completely up to your wish. The way how we are organizing our script will vary. That's it. Okay, apart from that, remaining things would be one and the same. Okay, apart from that, remaining things would be one and the same. That's fine. So I hope I'm clear for everybody with this scenario, and I'm just moving on to the next scenario. But if you clearly observe, guys, I have a given a end value as a 6. That's the reason it is getting a 4 rows. If I give it as a 100, it will get 100 rows. If I give it as a 95, it will get the 95 rows. But the only thing over here is every time we need to change this value manually to get all the rows information. Okay, let me write down this customized logic over here. If we would like to get all the rows information, means we need to do two steps. The first one is count the rows manually and give the count in the for loop. That's the only thing what we need to do. Okay, if you would like to perform this action, just count the rows manually and give that count in a for loop. Automatically your script will run on those many rows. But the only thing is, if your application is having just 4 to 5 rows, that would be fine. But whereas if your application is having 100 rows or 150 rows, then how would you handle that stuff? Okay, if the application is having 100 rows, then how would you handle that? Okay, if the application is having just 100 rows, how would you handle that? That would be really a bit difficult for us to calculate all the rows and to specify that rows information over here. So it means the simple point is to run the script what we have created right now. On all the rows, we need to pass the row count. Apart from that, the logic is one and the same, right? Apart from that, the logic is one and the same. The only thing is, in order to run the test script on a whole table or total number of rows, means I need to get a command which will be getting this information, the row count. So here we need to know the way how can I get total rows in the table using a command. If I know this information, that would be really helpful for me. The reason is the same script will work for entire table if at all there are at least 5 rows or 200 rows or else a 150 rows. If we get a value using a program, automatically based on the table whatever it got displayed, it needs to get the information. That's how we need to write down the logic. So how we need to customize that particular logic then? The simple thing is, go to that particular table in the Firebug. Right click on that object, inspect element with a Firebug. If you observe, a table row contains a table column value. Minimize the table column and minimize the table row. See here, if you observe the hierarchy, T body contains a multiple table rows. See here, T body contains a multiple rows, and this T body is under a tag which is a table. If you observe the hierarchy, all the rows are under the T body tag and which are under the table body, under the table itself. So which is, the table is starting with a tag name as a table itself, which is having a class property. Go back to Selenium IDE, write down the XPath / table open braces at the rate the class is equal to. I have a return an XPath for my table, and when I click on a find, of course my Selenium was able to identify the whole table, but within the table it is having a tag T body. Okay, under the T body itself there are a multiple rows are there. For suppose under the T body it is having another tag T body in which it is having a row, so we need to navigate up to there. See, we need to navigate up to where means above the tr tag we need to dig down. So here above the tr we have a table body, and above the body we have a table tag, and the table is having a class property. That's the reason I have a return an XPath for my table, and in which I am specifying that /t body. It means in this table go to this particular table body. So that's fine. In this body there are a multiple rows are there. So copy this XPath, go back to your WebDriver program, and before that whatever the program I have created, okay, copy this program or else create a new program. I am just creating a new program, web table for all rows. Okay, web table for all rows. As I conveyed that the logic between these two is one and the same, so I'm just copying the code from web tables for 4 rows codes. Okay, copy the whole code from webtables.4 rows code which we have written earlier, and paste it in our current program, newly created program. What I have copied here. So copy the program once again. See, I'm just trying to copy the program. Just a second. It was not copied earlier. So creation of a web element or creation of a WebDriver object using a for loop. I just copied the code till the for loop and pasted in a newly created program. Just pasted that. And the logic which I need to change over here is, after opening the application, driver dot find element by dot XPath, specify the table information here, table, and I am creating a web element to the table as a table. Guys, if you remember the earlier concept, which is a handling of a drop downs, getting all the values from the drop down. To get all the values from the drop down, what we did over there, we identified the drop down first, and later we asked our WebDriver to get all the values from the drop down with a tag name as an option. The same way here also, to get all the rows which are starting with a tag name as a tr from the table. So the first time what we need to do, we need to identify the table which we have did. After that, write a command to get all the tag names or else all the objects from the table with a tag name as tr. Okay, here I would like to write down a program in such a way. This is the logic. So right now we have identified the table information. Right now, table dot find elements by dot tag name as a tr. So here what I am asking, I am asking my WebDriver, from this web table, what are all the elements are there starting with a tag name as a tr, get them. And as it is getting, let's try to store it in a string rows. As we know that find elements is a command which would be returning a list of web elements. I change it to a list of web elements. System.out.println total number of rows in the table are plus rows dot size. That's the only thing what I need to specify. See, if you observe clearly, the logic whatever we have implemented to get the total values from a drop down, the same logic we are implementing over here. The basic difference is there we have identified a drop down and we asked our WebDriver to get all the objects with the tag name as an option. Here in this case, I am asking my WebDriver to identify a table. From the table, I am asking it to get all the objects with the tag name as a tr. The logic is one and the same, but the code is changed over there. That's the only difference. Am I clear for everybody with this logic? Suman, Raj, Amar, everyone. Is this point clear for everyone? Lata, Srilata, Bindu, Priyanka, Deepti, or do you have any questions? Sushmita, just let me know if at all you have any confusions. Fine, it's cool then. Then here it is returning the total count of the values rows. So here it is a rows dot size. So what I am doing now in my for loop, instead of specifying the end value, I am just giving it as a rows dot size. Rows dot size, which will be rotating till all the rows are present in a drop down, or else all the rows present in a table. After execution, I would like to close my browser too. So driver.quit is a command I have used here to close my browser. Now run the script as a Java application. It's been executing the test script. Let's check out how the script is gonna work. See here, it's been printing that particular information. See, it's been printing that. There are around 119 rows are there. It's trying to print all the 119 rows here. Okay, it's keep on printing all that particular information and it got printed and it closed the browser too. Okay, this is the way how we need to write this particular logic. That's fine. So if you observe the scenarios, we are done with the first scenario and the second scenario. Moving on to the third scenario here. Okay, moving on to the third scenario, I need to get both the tag names. See, it means if you clearly observe, after getting the tag name, simultaneously I would like to print. See, after getting the tag name, simultaneously I would like to print this description related to that tag name. Tag name, first print the tag name and then description. Print the tag name and then the description. That's fine. So here, let's try to identify the XPath for the description. See, we know that this is the XPath for a tag name. Let's try to get the XPath for the description. So what I am doing means, let's try to find it out. Okay, let's check out how this is gonna work. Okay, so here, right click on this text, assert element present. Right click on a descriptions, assert element present. Right click on a descriptions, assert element present. Go back to your Selenium IDE and after that, see here, change it to a position. Just change it to a position. The only thing what exactly we need to do over here is change it to a XPath position. See, if you clearly observe, the description is having an XPath. Okay, description is having an XPath. So here, this is, I am adding a comment in my Selenium IDE, XPath for tag name. And here, XPath for description. See here, the basic differences between the tag name and as well as the description, guys. Slash slash, see here, up to here it is one and the same. Where, let me draw. So, up to the numeric it is a common. The only thing difference over here is it is changing to td of a 2. td of a 2 means the second column. td of a means it's a first column. So that's clearly specifying that the tag name is in the first column and then the description is having in a second column. That's the basic difference. The tag name is in a first column and the description is in a second column. So the after part between these two is changing. The before part and the numeric is one and the same. Right guys? The before part for the description and as well as the tag name and the I value is one and the same. The only thing changing over here is the after part for the tag name and the description is changing. The reason is the tag name is in a first column and the description is in a second column. As it is in a second column, that's the reason TD of a 2 is getting displayed over here. As it is in a first column, TD of this one is getting displayed over there. Apart from that, everything is one and the same. Okay, apart from that, everything is one and the same. Okay, that's fine. So what I am gonna do right now means I would like to write a after for description, string after description. So this is a after value for our description. So the after value for our description is this one. Copy that. Okay, and specify here. This is the after value for description. But if you clearly observe, this after value contains, okay, TD of 2, this is common for all. Okay, that's fine. So here, XPath for, okay, this is the XPath. The first XPath is for tag name. So what I am doing right now means, let me create a new test script for new class for WebTable for tag name description. So I would like to create a test script for both the tag name and as well as a description. Add a main method. So the code is the one and the same from our previous script. So I'm just copying my code from my previous scripts. Okay, I'm just copying my whole code from my previous script and I'm pasting it out over here in the current code. The only thing it will vary over here is string after for description is there. Get that and paste it out. The after value for description is this one and I paste it out. So here below code is generating XPath for tag name. Okay, the same way we need to write down for XPath for description also. XPath tag name. So I am asking it to identify this one with a tag name. Similarly, below code is generating XPath for description. So for which I am just copying this string builder command and paste it out over here. XPath description, wherein which after description got added. Apart from that, everything is one and the same. Before is one and the same. I is one and the same. The only thing we need to change is a after description. And later, I am asking my WebDriver find the element by dot XPath and it is having an XPath description dot get text and store the result in a Y. Okay, store the result in a Y. The same logic, I am just changing the object properties. System.out.println Y. I just return a Y to my console. Now run the same script, rerun the same script. When I execute my script this time, it will return a tag name. Simultaneously, it will print the description also. Okay, it will return the tag name and simultaneously it will print the description also. Let's check out how this is gonna work. See here, tag name followed by a description is returning to the console for all the objects present in that particular table. This is how we need to write this program. Am I clear for everybody, or do you people have any specific questions for me regarding this particular logic? How to handle this web table? Am I clear for you all? Clear for everybody, or do you have any specific questions? The only thing is you people need to do practice on this stuff. Until and unless we do practice on this stuff, that would be a bit confusing and a bit harder for us to follow this concept. Okay, that's fine. Done up to here. So this is the thing, guys. This is the way how can we write down a program to handle a web tables, okay, dynamically. The concept of whatever we have discussed right now, we can also call it as a dynamic web tables. Okay, the last script which we can call it as a dynamic web tables. The last two concepts, web tables concept, we can call it as a dynamic web tables. Handling of all the rows and all the tag names, we can call it as a dynamic web table is the actual concept. Okay, this people will call it as a dynamic web table. The reason is, how many rows are there? We don't bother. My script needs to be in a position to handle all those rows, and my script needs to get that information. The whole concept, we can call it as a dynamic web table. And one more small point over here is, even though the browser is a keep on changing, see here, even though the browser is changing, but object would be one and the same. When this object properties will be changed means, even though we are giving a XPath position, this XPath position doesn't vary from browser to browser. This might vary from release to release. Okay, this might vary from release to release, but it doesn't change from browser to browser. So it means the script whatever we have prepared on this browser will execute on another browser too. Okay, the script whatever we have prepared will execute on another browser too. Okay, and why we have chosen Selenium IDE means, we know that using Selenium IDE we can simply generate the XPath, right? So we can simply generate the XPath. That's the reason only we went for Selenium IDE and we gathered the XPath over there. Okay, apart from that, the whole logic is one and the same. And today I have explained this logic on a general web-based application. Okay, tomorrow I would like to show you the same scenario on a Salesforce application. So what exactly a Salesforce application? Earlier I told you guys to create an account to a Salesforce app. If not, try to create an account for the Salesforce application. Okay, that would be easy for you to understand the concepts if at all you are having a Salesforce account. So try to create a Salesforce account, and whatever the concepts I am explaining, you can practice them on that particular Salesforce application itself. Okay, so do create a Salesforce account from your end. And let me show you the scenario which I am planning to explain in our tomorrow's class. So for which I'm just logging into this app now. Okay, I'm just logging into this app now. And from there, let it open. From there, generally the Salesforce application contains an object concept. Okay, the Salesforce application contains an object concept. Okay, so we will be seeing further what exactly the object is and all those things. Okay, but right now, and even we are nowhere related to that particular object related stuff, just try to understand the navigations whatever I am performing. So I am clicking on setup, the first link. From the setup, I'm just selecting an object, from where I'm clicking on these objects, from where I'm just selecting the fundraiser link. And this fundraiser link contains a table here. Right click on a passcode and inspect element with a firebug. If you clearly observe, it is represented in a table. See, it is being represented in a table. See, this is a tr and a table. If you move above the hierarchy for this table, it is having a table body and it is having a table as tag name as a table, but the class is having a list. It is not possible for us to identify this table with this property. If you go above, it is having an id property. Okay, it is under a div tag which is having an id property under which a table body. Okay, so I am trying to identify from the div tag itself. So it is having an id property, and if you clearly observe this id property, copy the whole id property and paste it in our running notes. It is having a value here, and go back to the browser, get the application URL and paste it out over here. See, if you clearly observe, the value for this particular table is getting from the URL. From the URL, it is capturing a session ID value and it is being passing that value here in your table ID property. Okay, so it means in order to pass a value over here means I need to get the URL first. From the URL, I need to get this value and then I need to pass this value over here, and using a string builder I can append these values. But the only logic is from the whole URL, how you are gonna get a part of a string from the whole URL entire string. This is the concept which I would like